Because one thing about marriage, it takes a village. It takes a village because I mean, it's certain things I'm still learning. Like we had to reinvent ourselves as far as parents because we're raising teenagers.
Mm-hmm.
My sons are not the same 8 and 9-year-old I was raising. They're men, they're young men,
Mm-hmm.
taller than me and taller as me, voice deep, but
Yeah.
hormones changing. Thinking adult, they're going through an adulting stage. And so you're learning them all over again. And so you're learning to talk to them, not talk at them, but talk to them.
Right.
And so just fatherhood, parenting is and then it's always good to just glean from other people. Be sharper.
Hello and welcome to the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. We're here to help you navigate life while disrupting the status quo. Our discussions cover a number of topics relevant to everyday life. We discuss everything from relationships to entrepreneurship. We also engage in some difficult but important conversations. And now, here are your hosts, Brian and Tanya Hamilton.
Welcome to another episode of the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. Today we're talking about a topic that is obviously near and dear to us. We're talking about marriage, and we're joined by Dennis and Loni Crawford. Dennis and Loni, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us. We're so excited to be here.
Yeah, very excited to be on here. Thank you so much.
No, we're really excited to have the conversation. But before we get into the conversation, let's learn a bit about you. Who are Dennis and Loni Crawford?
Oh wow!
Man. That's a broad. Let's
bring it in. So we are, to be honest, though, we're not too far. Okay, this is it. We're originally from Detroit. So we have to say what up though. To those that are from Detroit, they know what we're saying. Yes. But we're originally from Detroit and we reside now in Birmingham, outside of Birmingham, Alabama.
Yeah.
We've been married for over 20 years. It'll be 22 years this September.
Yep.
And we have 3 beautiful children. Yep. We are in the stages of having 2 teenage boys and 1 8-year-old daughter who's probably going on being a teenager. I'm saying girls mature faster than boys. Leave it there. We're just in different seasons of parenting with all of our children. We have one that's this year prepping to get ready to go to college. So that's a whole nother thing. I mean, it's just a lot, but it's, God has graced us with those seasons and things like that. So anything else, babes?
I think you covered it.
Well, I mean, we're authors, we're podcasters. I'm a independent gospel singer as well. So we stay busy, but family's first and our marriage. But God is first, then our marriage, and then our family. So we try to keep everything properly aligned.
Yep.
Perfect. Love it.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, I want to kind of actually take it back to the origin story. How did you guys meet and end up married for almost 22 years at this point?
Well, I'll tag in on that.
Yeah.
We got to actually talk about it in our book, Kingdom Homes. But I actually met my wife. She was singing a song on stage. She was in a talent show.
Mm-hmm.
And so she's in a talent show and she was singing Jennifer Holiday's "You're Gonna Love Me." Is that the name of the song?
That's the name of it.
And so she had on this black dress.
Back in the day they called it move somethings, but
move something. She had this black dress, man. This is back in like 94. So I seen her. I said, "This girl is singing, and she fine." So I see her. I talked to my boy. I said, "Man, boo, boo, boo." I was just talking smack. I said, "She is fine." And so after that, we just became I approached her. We didn't hook up. But we were just good friends.
Yeah.
I'll go come to her room and we'll watch Jenny Jones.
Yeah, that's oh my God, you're taking it back, Jenny Jones. We telling our age.
Yeah, so we'll watch Jenny Jones on TV. I mean, never tried each other. Never tried anything.
He was eating up my food out of my refrigerator. I
was a hungry college student.
He was constantly in my refrigerator. I'm like, he knew I kept it stocked, so he was like always eating.
So y'all come to her room, eat up all the food. And so she had a boyfriend.
Mm-hmm.
She had a boyfriend and had a girlfriend. Sorry about that, y'all.
You're good.
Sorry about that. So she had a boyfriend. I had a girlfriend at the time, and so we just hanging out. And so long story short, God ended up bringing us together. She actually left her dad's church. She's a PK, Baptist kid, Baptist kid. So she ended up coming over to my church. And so, but I always liked her. I mean, even on campus, I always admired her. Always, see, she's just a godly example of a woman. Just always, you never heard anything. So you living on campus in college, you heard something about somebody creeping, doing something. I didn't hear nothing about her. And so we ended up she ended up coming to my church. She left her dad's church to come over to my church, and then I just said, "Wow, she's available." I was like, "Oh, are you?" I mean, I ain't asked was she available. I was like, "Are you about to get married or anything?" Because at the time she almost married a guy.
Yeah.
But God told her not to marry him.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was a big situation too. And God just started really getting me together spiritually because he started having me consecrate and really focus on him, like become a celibate, really taking my life serious at the time. This is back in '99. And so I started pursuing her, I started seeing her. I wasn't thinking about a wife until I started seeing her. I was like, man, she's awesome. And so we pursued her. She did when in my pursuit for her, she actually did stand me up for dates. Stood me up for
I was playing hard to get. Let's just make sure that's what I call it, playing hard to get. He called it.
So she stood me up. She turned me down for 2 days, and she just kept pursuing me. But during that time, it was good for me not to do anything because God did tell me to get away from women for 30 days, consecrate yourself, get your heart together, and focus on those things. And so as I pursued her, God ended up speaking to her a couple of weeks later and told her, I was her husband. So we got engaged that next year in 2000, and then we got married September 22nd, 2001. That was 11 days after 9/11.
Yeah.
So matter of fact, this is funny because when we got married, we had a honeymoon, and guess what? Niagara Falls, Canada.
Oh, there you go.
Yep. We had because in Detroit you could drive across the bridge, get there. And so, and man, we love Toronto. Oh my God, we love Toronto.
Yeah.
So we went to Toronto, went to Niagara on the lake.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So we honeymooned over there. Man, stayed at the Howard Johnson in Niagara Falls and walked around, seen Ripley's Believe It or Not, Planet Hollywood.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know what we're saying.
We had a good time. So yeah, man, it's been a very very a very blessed ride, man. It's been up and down, man, like any other marriage.
Yeah.
God tell you go here, you gotta take your family this way. You just gotta believe God is that He's telling you to lead your family a certain way. And so it's been a very interesting ride, man. 22 years later.
Yes.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, right? We were actually talking to a lady the other day, and she was coming from starting a relationship, after divorce and stuff like that. And the conversations that you're supposed, that are really good to have. And I think it's just as important when you're starting off fresh, into a relationship, right? That's going to potentially lead to marriage. Right. So for you guys, and, even when you're working with couples now with like premarital coaching and stuff like that, those conversations, right? Even like kids, oh geez, where you want to live, all that kind of stuff, what the goals are that you have for yourself, but also for your marriage. How did all those conversations come up with you guys back then?
Oh, wow. When we went through our premarital counseling, or just when we were dating?
Just like you guys. Yeah, just dating.
We were we're so thankful that the church that we attended at the time was like, when you're dating, you're collecting data. So we took that time of like getting to know each other. We don't condemn anyone that's like getting into bed with anyone, but we try to go with biblical principles. We kept ourselves until marriage because we wanted to make sure that we were getting to know each other. This was going on right here, getting to know each other and not creating soul ties. So during that time, we did do premarital counseling. We brought those questions, and they always gave us great discussion items to take back to talk about. So we would go and sit down and talk about those things. How many kids do you want? Where do you want to live? These things. And they were things that as long as our core was set together, we knew that if God moved us or took us different places, we were fine with that. We were fine with that following leading of the Holy Spirit. But we had to have that core that we have the same Father, the same Heavenly Father, and that relationship there that we can move and adjust however, which way God sees fit for us. But those discussions were very fun because we came from, like, for example, he wanted to marry a roundaway girl. I am not. Uncle J, roundaway girl. Yeah. That is not. And I tease because that's what he thought. And here I am, and you just never know what God is going to place in your life. We were raised on two different sides of the town. Yeah. He was on the east side. I was on the west side, suburb side. So, we were raised differently. I had a 2-parent household, whereas his parents were divorced. So those were things, those were discussions that single parents. So we had to talk, a lot of communicating during that dating time, and still doing it now, even after 20 plus years, we're still communicating. This is my best friend. And I think that's what helped a lot, is that we built that as being friends first, being able to, that's why he was coming over to my house. I should have known he was going to be my husband the way he was raiding the refrigerator. I should have known. He always wanted a sandwich, or, you know, but I mean, but one thing is that we were able to talk, so we can talk into the wee hours of the night, and those it helped us with our communication skills with each other.
But you know, I'm gonna add this: the church that we came from, what we come to appreciate is that they wouldn't even talk to you unless you did a year of dating. Yeah. They wouldn't talk to you because they wanted to make sure you were ready. And so we that I can honestly say that year of us, you know, I knew her in college and stuff, but just being together, dating, that we, you know, they were very serious about taking, you know, about dating, the marriage process, because we, you know, people date around, but you know, you should be dating to marry, and that's what they put in us, dating to marry. You know, because the thing is, they put in they told us, if, you know, they just gave a revelation, if you're dating all over the place, that's how your marriage is going to be. You're gonna move this person, you're gonna go to this person. So there's no commitment between you and that person. And so that's one thing they did. We had a pastor. He sat down and broke down line upon line. He's very thorough about things, about finances, about about children, raising children, location, you know, things of that nature, ministry. And so he was very thorough. So that it helped. I believe they just gave a major foundation of what we was about to step into. Real solid foundation.
Now, for yourself, Dennis, you know, you mentioned being raised in a single parent household. What were some of the, I guess, changes or adjustments that you had to kind of make to prepare for, you know, being in a long-term marriage, obviously, and, you know, being in that more traditional nuclear family?
I think the thing, it made me really appreciate being married, you know, to being married, because being in the same, you were in my book Broken Son, I was talking about my dad and his issues with alcoholism and stuff like that. But I will tell you, being in the church that we went to, and what they taught about the Word of God, it gave me a foundation and a revelation of what a husband's role is, what a woman's role is, you know, the wife role is. And so coming from a single parent household, it made me more so want to have a good, stable marriage, because I didn't want my mom. I want to go what my mom went through. My mother, she's living, she's well, and I seen what she went through, you know. And I made a promise to me and God. I said, I'm not. I wasn't even saved then when my parents got a divorce and stuff like that. I ain't know God, but I just said I'm going to devote myself to one woman. And so that's what. And so even in the context, I wasn't even like thinking about marriage. I was just like thinking of a monogamous situation. But as I grew in my, and I got saved at 19 and started really going to the Word of God, I started having more of a revelation, like, this is how you treat a wife, this is how you treat your woman, this is how you hold yourself as a man. And the Bible taught me that. And then it's been around other men of God that taught me, seeing their marriages, because I never seen a successful marriage. I never seen a successful marriage. I didn't see it. And so when I did see it, when I seen the standards set, I'm like, okay, I want to do that. That's what I want to aim for. You know, I want to use that. That's my example. And so that same thinking and meeting an equally yoked young lady like this, it just made it that much better. You know. Hope I answered your question.
No, absolutely, you did.
Okay. Just making sure.
I was gonna jump from the honeymoon and your time in Niagara Falls to when you started your family, when you added your first son and that season of life, right? Like, it's a busy one for you know, anybody who goes into it, and you know, there's a lot of ups and downs, I think, right, when you start a family, because like there's so many highs and then just everything going on. So how was it for you guys? How did you navigate that?
Wow, like any new parent, it was it's definitely a change of great. You know, children are a blessing from God. We are really very thankful for all three of our children. It was an adjustment when we first got married. I think we were married for about 4 years.
Yeah, we got married. We got married, and then we waited 4 years because
4 years.
Yeah, we wanted to enjoy each other.
We were throwing stuff in the bag like, let's go. You know, it's a lot. We like, it's just us. We didn't need much, you know.
Once I mean,
the little one is
right.
like, okay, all right. I remember the first time I dropped off our son and for my sister to watch, and the list that I had for her, and I'm like, do I do this in a day? And I'm like, oh my goodness, you just do it. You're just doing it automatically, and it was like it's so much more to move. It's so many more moving parts when you have little people that you are responsible for, and yeah. So it was an adjustment, but like Dennis said, that we started doing like a lot of bread and breakfasts and stuff. We did all that, and we planned our children. We were like, Lord, I know it was probably a couple of years before we started having kids. I was like, had that baby fever, like, oh baby, oh, and he's like, hold on one second.
Let's wait a little bit.
Let's wait a little bit, because we did have some plans. That was one thing, like what we talked about even when we were dating, that I would be a stay-at-home mom. And in doing that, he was like, let's prepare some things. We have to get some things in order before we start our family. Because when you come home, I want to be able to support the whole family. So we were paying off debt, doing all those necessary things. And I'm like, is it time? Is it time?
Have we reached the goal?
It's like, it's time.
See, with me, I just want to get to know my wife. I mean, I've never been married, never lived with another woman before. And so you got two people coming together. You get a man and woman coming together. They're coming together, two worlds coming together. Not only are, man and woman, we are very different, of course, but also different backgrounds, different viewpoints that's coming together. And I had to get to know my wife, and I'm still getting to know, of course, but I just had to get to know her a little bit more before I brought kids in, because kids come in, that kid come and change your whole world. Lack of sleep, you know what I'm saying? Spend more money, kids cost money. And in time, so you had to. It's a lot that goes to that. So we had we waited. We said we're gonna wait for a minute and to have our kids. So.
And it was an adjustment having now that you have to share your love with. It's different kinds of love, but it's just like, and I'm nursing. I'm pulled away with the baby, and and I still got to take care of my big baby. And we were young, and it was kind of, that you can have those feelings where like you're spending so much time with the baby, and all these different things, and we had to be intentional about dating. And that's one of the things we do when we speak to couples that have smaller children. Just you have to be intentional about it. If you have to schedule things, all these different things to make it work, you have to, because those are seasons and they do pass. But in those seasons, just make those adjustments and be understandable when your wife is nursing and all that, and she may feel a certain kind of way, or you have to be able to read the room and know what's going on.
For sure.
So,
yeah, I think being intentional, that's a big one, right? Like, everything goes in our calendars, right? We have it all out there. Why not add the time that you need to spend with your spouse, right?
Yes.
And also, we always say that, like, when it comes to the whole dating thing, people often just think grandiose, right? And it doesn't need to be like that. It can be coffee. It can be just going out for a walk, right? And again, going to the different seasons, like, well, where you guys are, but we're in it now where our oldest can babysit. So now it's like freedom, right?
Yes.
You don't do it all. You don't do it all the time, but now it's not this big, like, okay, we got to go through the roster of the babysitters. We gotta pick them up, and then the extra costs, with paying people. I mean, he gets paid a little here and there, but you know what I mean. But yeah, right. So you do go through those different seasons, and it's just like you don't want to come out of that and feel so disconnected from your spouse, and you're like, you don't even know what to do. Right.
So true. And a lot of couples deal with that when everything you're talking about it's surrounding the kids. It's pick up, drop off, You're in that routine, and then when they all go off into their life, you're looking at a stranger. You're like, I don't even know. You don't even know what to talk about now. And I'm like, no, we have to be intentional. I mean, our kids even know y'all going on a date. On a date. Even if it's something just like you said, going to get coffee, it doesn't have to be all the grandeur and dress up. And it's just spending time with each other. We need that. We need it. It's needed.
Yep. At a date. Keep dating.
Now, for yourselves, because you talk to so many different couples, what are some of the common blind spots that people have going into a marriage?
I would say the common blind spot I see is what?
I have one.
I think
you can go.
I don't know if this is a blind spot, but I think what I see, because y'all been married 15 years, so y'all vets at
15. Yeah,
we got married 15 years.
Yeah.
So you know marriage is not just a cakewalk. You got to work it. And I think sometimes when people are caught up in the fantasy, oh, I love this person, and they're this and that, all that stuff. I think they go in with this fantasy, and they are you are marrying your best friend. But my thing is, have you had a good fight yet? I mean, you know, have you seen this person without makeup? I mean, have you seen them with stained breath?
Right.
You know, you know what I'm saying? You know, I mean, have you seen them on their worst day?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know, we've had bad days. Y'all probably say, but we have more up than bad days.
Yeah.
And I think the preconceived notion is, you know, we want people to know that you're gonna have issues, but it's how you overcome those issues that's gonna define your marriage.
That's good. I totally agree. I think that's something about seeing people in all four seasons. And the reason why I say it's like, because you don't know, like it's like you said, mentioned about it, have you been in an argument? Because some people are fight or flight. You want to know, is this person going to still stick to it? Are we going to be able to settle this? Or are you just going to walk away? Or I don't, because our upbringing makes a big difference on how we react to conflict. And if your family may react like we walk away, we don't we close, we shut down, whatever. But you have to keep those communication doors open. Right. I remember this one guy. He's on internet. Interruptogram was Tim Ross, and he does premarital counseling. And one of the things that he mentioned was when he comes in is he tries to break them up. Now it may seem weird, but he puts different situations in their face to see whether or not he can break them up. And I'm like, okay, all right. I like the twist of that, because it's like, are we going to stick together and have a united front, or are we going to be looking cross-eyed at each other like, yeah, it is his fault or it is her fault? But it's just to see, how do we deal with conflict? I think that's the biggest thing, because a lot, like hubby said, people come in with this fairy tale Disney thing about marriage. And I'm like, yeah, you get married and you walk down the aisle, you look beautiful, but now the work begins. Now you need to work this. And so we're always trying to make sure that we're giving them marriage tools in their marriage toolbox. You don't have to use all your tools all the time, but it's something that needs to be used for this situation. So that's what we try to supply whenever we have like premarital counseling.
No, I like that. Obviously, it's not going to be a Disney movie, but it doesn't have to be a Tyler Perry movie either.
Thank you.
That's a good one. Oh man, that's funny. I like that.
So true.
Yes, that's hilarious.
Oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to use that.
But no, it's so true though. So many people spend so much time just planning for the day and don't even really think for the years beyond that. Right. Spend less time planning for the years to come than they do one day.
That's true.
Yeah.
And don't invest, like we even invest in like just for counseling, like post-marital counseling. It's okay to have someone that you talk to, a therapist or someone to help you walk through and navigate through something. Or we have a couple that pours into us that's been married over 30 years that have grown children. I mean, they walk through what we are going through right now. So we're like, hey, could you give us some pointers? Because right now, sometimes we're scratching our head like, oh, help us. Because it's different when their children do and are in different seasons, and you go and have someone else that pours into you to help you. And I think that's how it should always be. It's just like we're helping each other. We're a community of doing that.
Because, when you get married, the learning doesn't stop there. Just, and you're building a foundation, but you should always glean from other couples, you know what I'm saying? And so, because iron sharpens iron.
Yeah.
And so it's good to have that person, because when we got married, when we first got married, we had an older couple that mentored us.
Yeah.
And so we've always believe in having somebody to pour into us. The Bible says accountability. The Bible says in Proverbs 11:25, he who refreshes others himself also should be refreshed. And I tell people, you may be a strong tree for others, but who's watering you?
Right.
You know what I mean? You should always be watered. You don't feel like you shouldn't do it by yourself.
Yeah.
You should have somebody that already walked that road for you. They already seen what you've been through, and they can kind of give you some pointers on what to do, and somebody can so definitely pour into you.
Yeah,
definitely need that. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that with it's maintenance, right?
Yes.
Because I think so many times people just think, oh, okay, it's when we've hit a crisis, when maybe the relationship, the marriage is falling apart. Now we see a counselor, but there's nothing wrong with just maintaining what you have and growing on that, whether that is, if you're seeing a counselor, a therapist, or like, having those people that have already been there, done that.
Yes.
And I personally don't necessarily feel you can learn the same if it's friends who have been married the same amount of time, right? Like you're in the same situation, most likely in the same season of life. But when you say somebody who's been married 30 years, who have kids who are not out of the house, they can just sharing their stories and stuff like that. And I think the biggest part there is just being open enough to ask somebody, even, right? Whether it's at church, in the community that you've seen, just be willing to ask. And I think people would be surprised at how honored somebody would be to be that accountability for them.
Oh, definitely.
It's definitely needed. It's definitely needed.
Yeah, and I think that's the great thing about church community too, just because, again, like-minded people who have kind of already been there, what you alluded to, kind of already been there, done that.
So true. So true. I mean, we've grown a lot just having even small groups, marriage, small groups. Sometimes people, and it's intimate, and you built a relationship there. You can open up, and it builds for friendships even later on. That's really helpful, that you can always get on the phone and call someone and have that community. I'm telling you, it's like you said, iron sharpens iron. Definitely.
Because one thing about marriage, it takes a village. It takes a village, because I mean, it's certain things I'm still learning. Like we had to reinvent ourselves as far as parents, because we're raising teenagers. My sons are not the same 8 and 9 year old I was raising. They're men. They're young men, taller than me and taller as me. Voice deep, hormones changing. Adult. They're going through an adulting stage. And so you're learning them all over again. And so you're learning to talk to them, not talk at them, but talk to them. And so just fatherhood, parenting is and then it's always good to just glean from other people. Be sharpened.
Now I'm actually curious now that you mentioned that, because I've been thinking about this a lot. With it's a little bit different because you have the 8-year-old daughter. It's like she's kind of going on being a teenager, but
I think she is.
That's my baby too. Dang, well, like, good Lord, stay at 8 years old.
but with the boys, you have one who's prepping for university now. What did you find was kind of that age that was really the transitional, maybe one of the more difficult ages?
Man, good question, Brian. Well, I'm gonna tell you something. My son started really. This is my oldest, because he'll be 17 graduating from high school. Very smart. I could say the 12 when he turned 12, 13 age. I started seeing that change. And so my once bubbly little young man, now he's not as bubbly, and now he's this young man, and now he's a thinker. Now he's a big thinker, and he's questioning everything. And so at first, being honest, we were like, he would question the Bible, say stuff about God, get mad at God. Just his whole theological world view is different, And so we used to get frustrated about we raised them to be Christian and blah blah blah, but then somebody had to tell us, let him walk that path, because he knows the Jesus that I gave to him when he was little, but he has to learn Jesus for himself. So he has to walk his path. You gotta let them walk their path, because the thing is, how can they learn if they don't fall? They gotta fall. You're gonna see him fall. We seen him fall. We seen him get back up, but we have to let him walk his own path. And that took a lot off of us. And now for me as a father, because for a long time I was like, man, I'm not a good dad, but I am a good dad because I'm giving him the tools. I'm saying, here you go. Now the tools are here. I'll show you how to use them, and we'll walk it out. But I have to allow him to utilize and put those things into practice. You know what I mean? And so 12, 13 years old, man, it got a little rough at 13 because he started question everything, and it got intense. But when I went into his world, rather than him coming to me, I went there.
Excuse me.
I went into his world to find out what his thoughts were and why what makes him tick now. You know what I'm saying? And so that and then so when I went in his world, that respect level, whatever, he's like, man, he's willing to learn what I learned. He's willing to. He's sensitive because man, the hormones, the emotional state is totally is different, and then it's scary too because your body's changing. And,
right.
You know what I'm saying? Your voice getting deeper, and they getting a little horny. I'm just being real. And so you gotta navigate through all that stuff, and you gotta be patient with it.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get impatient, but you have to spend a lot of grace. The Bible says long suffering, grace.
Yeah,
a lot of grace. A lot of times we was in here praying like, Lord, help us with this. Yeah. But you have to allow them to be human. You have to allow them to grow. You have to allow them to be who God created them to be, because that's the only way they're going to learn and grow.
They're going to learn and grow. And there's so many distractions that we didn't necessarily have growing up.
Oh my goodness.
You had to dig for it back in the day.
Where you had to dig for stuff. Now it's just like a tap. You could say it, tap or whatever, it's access to so much more. And it's like, we're trying to make sure that, we're trying to keep all that static that's going on from the world and pushing it back and trying to, keep them as it is clear for them as possible. But yeah, you're fighting against a lot of stuff that just is trying to get their attention. And you have to realize we're dealing with, our kids went through the pandemic, that's a whole different things and the after effects of that. And still people are dealing with that. So that's something, just a lot of prayer and a lot of love. And I constantly say that this generation, they've been through a lot, but this is the generation that's going to carry that mantle through. It's just, and you have to say a great revival can come through these young men and women, because the attack has been so heavy on their identity, on just everything that they're standing for. You just have to be like, we have to fight for our kids. We have to fight for our kids, no matter what, and that's where we're at. We're fighting for our family and keeping the kingdom home. We don't have perfect kids. We don't have a perfect marriage. We're not perfect, but we serve a perfect God. So that's all.
I'm gonna say this, because how old is your child?
So we have a 13-year-old
who's soon turning 14, and I was really hoping that you were going to say 12, because I was hoping that we're past all that. Because so interestingly enough, we had a conversation recently with the gentleman. We're talking about the whole rite of passage and how with the Jewish culture, there's the bar mitzvah and bat mitzvah that they do, and it's just really acknowledging that passage into manhood, which we don't really have in our culture. But really, at 12 years old is, for most boys anyways, that's when you start to see those physical changes and all the hormonal changes. So you have basically a man coming to fruition, but it's not really acknowledged. And assuming that there's in a situation where there's a father in the household, now you have two men, and there's that dynamic there, a man who's trying to find his way. So, and right now as well, I'm coaching a basketball team with 12-year-old boys, and spoken with a couple of the dads, and they've said, like, I don't really know what's gotten into my son this year. So, it really just kind of confirmed that theory for me. So I'm hoping at least with, one of the three boys that the toughest part is.
We will survive. We will make it. We will make it.
And I think, especially with the parenting, I always say, like, prayer, patience, and grace. That's, those are the three. But then also, like, this is really where that tag team parenting comes in, right? Because we are totally two different personalities. Brian is way more patient, and he's really great at, like, de-escalating and all that kind of stuff. But, like, where you know your strengths. And you gotta walk in that, right? And like, especially when you are parenting, it's okay to just pass that, like, tag in. I'm out. This isn't working, and you give it a try, right? And it may look totally different, our approaches, but like, obviously, your parents, you have the same goals in mind. You want to get these problems solved, right? But yeah, I think that's important too. Just knowing, like, we as parents, we have those, like, ground rules and, like, the goals of how we would like to parent, but that's the nice thing of having two different people who can bring different things to the table, right?
Definitely. It helps so much. That's why I believe that's why God wants the mother and the father in the home. I mean, that's the proper alignment. If you think about the family That's the proper alignment. What he brings to the table, I don't bring that to the table. He brings, you know, so we complement each other and it's support. There's times when we've handled stuff and I'm like, I'm trying to keep a poker face. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. You're going to have to take this one.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's vice versa as well. So I totally agree.
Yeah. And so it's the alignment, you know, like the wife said, you know, 1 Corinthians 11:3, it says, the head of the man, the head of the woman is the man, the head of the man is Christ, the head of Christ is God. And so when you follow that alignment, you're pretty much allowing, and I believe, you know, and what the Bible says, you know, but I believe that the man should always take the lead in partnership with the wife. The wife don't walk behind the man; they walk they walk together, holding each other arm in arm. And so, you know, we just get, and then, you know, just that man and woman that brings that completion to the house, you know, that completion to that child, you know. And so when you see that alignment, your house will run pretty good, even in the most up and down times.
Awesome. Now I'm curious to know how you guys got into podcasting as well.
Oh man.
Oh, that's funny.
Well, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna put myself on blast. I am.
He's gonna do it before I do it. So
yeah, I'll put myself in blast. Okay, so with my wife, you know, because I actually wrote a book. I wrote a book in 2018. Hard Meditation of the Believer.
Of the Believer, yeah.
Hard Meditation of the Believer. So this is right here. This book right here. This is my first book.
If you can see it,
you can see it.
Yeah, Heart Meditation of the Believer.
So
there we go.
Yeah. So I wrote that book, and so I'm authoring. I'm doing my thing. My wife said, "Well, let's do a podcast about our marriage," because we've already been talking to couples, coaching. Just, you know how you just guys, just you in the kingdom, you coaching, you doing your thing. And so then my wife's like, let's do some podcasting. And I'm like, and I said, I don't really want to do that. I don't like the way I sound. I talk a certain kind of way, you know. And so she was like, let's just do it. And so we went on, we just went on Anchor.fm. And you know, you can use your phone. And she went on there. She said, it's just talking. It's coffee.
It was during our date. That's how we did it. We started on dates.
We started on dates. And so she pushed that recorder. We was talking, and
sometimes we eating. He'll be making breakfast, and I was like, the kids were off to school at the time and everything. And I set it right in between us, and we just started talking. And it started off as coffee talk. Yeah, that's what it was.
So I started talking. I'm like, I like this. So we just kind of, you know, we started flowing. See, a lot of times, you know, the thing is what people don't realize in us being in ministry, what God had to really reveal to me. People think that your pulpit is the pulpit is on stage, but your pulpit is a podcast. It can be a podcast or what we doing. And so it was a blessing doing it, and then it gave us time to be together, to connect. Yeah. And we say we want to have a coffee table talk where we let people in on our world. Yeah. Let them know we talk, because all of our podcasts, those are conversations we have all.
We just
talking. We just talk, and so we just let we what you call it, the fourth wall. We allow the world to be the fourth wall, and they would just let them sit at our coffee table. We just talk, kicking it real about issues. You know, God just gave us issues and give us word, and then we just talk. You know, so we've been doing this since October 2019. Yeah. Okay. You know, and so it just became a thing that we did, and it's
been fun. We look forward to it.
Look forward to doing it too. Give us time to really connect and be together and talk.
How long did it take you to get used to listening to the sound of your own voice? When
it took me about a year.
Yeah, same.
It took me about a year. I was like, oh my
goodness.
It took about a year, but it's something I look forward to doing. You know.
He does it now, and it's to the point now that he has his own podcast now. Like
he saw that.
Yeah, he's like, well, forget you. I'm gonna go do my own. He started doing it. And he has guests on, and I'm like, oh, you didn't move up. We didn't do all that stuff, but it helped him. Yeah. It really helped him to branch off into his. So he does real talk with real men, real talk with real men, you know, and things like that. So it's fun. So now we have a microphone, all that. I mean, you know, all that stuff. We got a little music to it and stuff. You know, just you can see what's so funny is seeing from 2019 to now. You can see the progression, how things have changed. You're like, oh my goodness, look how we sound back here.
We like that setup too. The stream. Yeah, we like this. We looking to do StreamYard soon. So
this year we're looking to do StreamYard to get.
Oh, there you go.
Like, we want to see you. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I know.
No, it's a nice change. It just really enriches the conversation too, being able to look at the white of someone's eyes. Not obviously it's the closest thing you're going to get to in person with some of the geographic restrictions, but
definitely. Yes.
That definitely helps a lot. All right, now I know we've kind of jumped around a lot of different topics, and we did kind of want to focus in on premarital situations and just preparing for marriage. So I just kind of want to circle back to some of what we've talked about so far. So just kind of recap some of the important conversations that we want to have before marriage. So finances was one, size of family. Just want to make sure that we hit on all of them. So finances, family. What are the other questions the conversations that we want to have before jumping into marriage?
Definitely sex. Definitely sex. Hey man, if you feel like this, every married person should be having sex. That's just how a man and a woman. Let me specify. Married man and woman should be having sex. We talked about sex a lot. We definitely talk about sex being a gift from God, but also being a part of your intimacy with your spouse. Not being selfish with it. Not being selfish.
Using it as a weapon.
Use as a weapon, or it going one way. You should want to make sure you satisfy your spouse. We talk about those things. We talk about definitely dating, always dating, keeping it fresh. We believe me and her, we going we got our 17-year-old baby sis. So we believe in going like at least 1 or 2 dates a week, 3 sometimes. We believe in doing that, dating, definitely communication, talking, getting to know each other. And then definitely we talk about your background. I mean, your background is important, where you come from, your view of marriage, why do you want to get married?
Right.
What's the purpose of you marrying this person? Why do you want to marry this person? What made you say, I want to spend the rest of my life with this person?
Yeah.
And are you committed to it? Because marriage, some people are pressured to marry. Some people say, I want to get married because my auntie say I'm getting old. I'm gonna be called an old maid, or my girlfriend got married, or I was at a wedding and it looked so pretty, and I want to get married for that reason. But it's those are the fairy tales too. But we just tell people, if you're gonna do it, you got to be committed to it. You got to work it. But that was some of the topics we talk about. Definitely dating, sex, communication.
And also your family's role, as far as, because that's another thing with what you're building is your family now. And, sometimes we like to carry stuff back to our family and I'm going to tell about my husband. So that's one of the major things that we talk about is what's going on in here, will go on in Vegas, stay in Vegas. You know what I'm saying? In that sense. But because you go and tell mama something about your husband, she's never, you're her baby. And she's not going to forgive him for what he did. And you've gone on to something else and she's still looking cross-eyed at your husband. And so those things about protecting your spouse, protecting each other, their vulnerability, the things like that, and handle them well when they present something to you, because that builds up trust. If you handle something raggedy with someone, then the next time they may not present it to you. So and then you wonder why, and that cuts down communication. And so those are some of the things that we definitely discuss. Those hard facts, those hard truths,
And even I'll even digress and say some of the not as hard truths, but just some of the differences that you have with family dynamics, like how your family is. Look, I'll just give a specific scenario here. You have one person in the marriage who grew up in a large, really close-knit family. And if you're living close to that family, they may just show up unannounced. Where you have one person who maybe grew up in a single parent household, didn't have a lot of family around, and are used to having their own space and not used to people showing up unannounced. And then even just the simple things like, why isn't the syrup in the fridge? Or
we definitely talk.
Why isn't the ketchup in the fridge? Or why, the weird thing for me, it wasn't a problem. It was just kind of weird to me is every time, Tanya uses the scissors for something, they end up in the sink to get washed. Like, I don't know that we ever put our scissors in the sink, right? It was just little things like that, but things that, they're point of contention, because I think people just assume so much that every family is like their family. And I've seen some really minor things like blow up in some marriages.
It's something little, but it became major, So definitely addressing those things. I totally agree. I totally agree about that. Yeah. I was thinking also about also introverts with extroverts. That was one of the things that I remember.
That's us.
Really?
Because that is real. You have one that's like, I want to be around everybody. And the other was like, okay. Like you said, they come from a big family. They always have a big dinner every Sunday. And you might just want to come home and be like, I'm cool right here. We don't have to do all that, but it's compromise. You finding a way to ebb and flow with that. We just had a couple like that recently where one just wants to be out. One's like, I'm cool at home. And we said, well, y'all have to find something that works for you, that both people are satisfied with it, and we actually were able to talk it through for them.
And I know with me, even with me and the wife, I grew up in a, pretty much a single parent household, and we got together with family, but it was like, kind of closed and everything. But when I met the wife, man, she's the oldest of four. And so, man, they were like the modern day Huxtables. They're her, man, they'd do dance routines. All of them know how to sing. All four of them. She had an older brother. He plays like the guitar, but all of them know how to sing. All of them are talented. So they doing 4-part harmonies, and
it was 5-part.
5-part harmonies.
Get it right.
Also, they sit back dancing. I'm looking at them like, what in the world am I looking at? And so just getting used to that. Learning how to, so that's so true.
Yeah, getting used to that.
Yeah, I get it. And then as soon as you do, something else comes up. But so I gotta ask, you guys are going on to 22 years. Where do you see yourself, your marriage, in the next 20 years?
Oh, that's a very good
question.
He's still running after me, chasing after me.
Chasing after her.
No, but I mean, we said we want to be in good health. We'll see couples and we're like, okay, like we're in our 40s. This is our last year in our 40s. I don't have a problem with saying our age because I'm thankful for every year that we get. And so this is our last year in our 40s. And like, man, we'll be here half a century, man. It's like, oh my God, what am I gonna do for the rest? But definitely growing more in love with my husband each and every day. We hope to, in the next 20 years, we'll be in grandparent state somewhere, have, that'll be somewhere in there. And you have kids that are off married and, being having a successful, our children being our harvest and have them being successful. That'll be definitely a plus. And writing more books and whatever God has in store for us. I really would love to travel. I mean, that's, I'm putting it out there and letting it, I would love to travel more, and doing more, marriage events. We just did one recently last October. That was a blessing. That was like it was a blessing just being able to be around.
We did a marriage seminar with
a
couple
in Tulsa.
Oklahoma.
So just more of that, just doing whatever God set for us to do. I don't know what you have to.
Yeah, I mean, you pretty much said it. Just definitely doing ministry, doing more podcasting, connecting with people more. Just getting that circle a little bigger with other married couples, and then of course raising, continue to raise our children and hopefully raising grandchildren.
We're not raising them. Hopefully,
not raising them.
No, I know what you meant, Dennis.
Back that up. Because my dad, he cracks me up. He said, "If you raise your kids right, you won't have to raise your grandkids." And I said, "Oh, let me back." He said, "You can watch them and take them. They can go back, but you raise your children right, then your grandchildren won't have to raise." And I said, "Okay." So that's why I'm like, we're gonna definitely make sure we just spoil them and send them on.
Yeah.
Take them back over there.
That's the way to do it. No, and the words are important. So it obviously there, you felt compelled to step in and make sure the correct words were.
Get enough raising. I'm like,
I want to raise all the kids.
Another thing I like to do too is being able to take your own hindsight. Obviously, like you can't change anything, but you want to take your hindsight so that we can help someone to apply it to be their foresight. So I'm going to ask the same question to both of you. You can answer, and whoever wants to answer first, take the lead. But let's say you wake up tomorrow and you realize that you fell asleep in a time machine, and now it's the day of your wedding. you have a chance to speak to Dennis and Loni on the day of your wedding. You have a couple of minutes. What are you going to tell them?
Oh, that's a good. Oh, I like that question.
That's deep. That's deep, brother.
He's the closer.
Yeah, that's the close. I mean, you dropped the mic after that one. Okay, you gonna go first. You go first because I'm still marinating on that one.
I'll start. I would tell them this. I would tell them not only enjoy your marriage, but I would tell them to be more gracious as a father. Be more gracious. I had to learn the hard way on how to be a better father. And I would tell them to be more gracious as a father because you gotta with the end product of what you see in your kids is you don't have to learn it the hard way like I did, but have more grace as a father, and also love your wife like it's the last day.
Oh, sweetheart. You about to make me cry. I am a crybaby, but wow. Oh my goodness. What I would tell her is not to be so hard on herself. And allow just to be free. Be as free as possible. Continue to just love on your husband as much as possible. Like, outdo him because he has such a big heart. But just to do your best to outlove him. But mainly just not to be so hard on yourself. You're going to make mistakes, learn from them, grow from them, and you'll be a better person. But yeah, that would be the mainest thing. Don't be so hard on yourself. You're going to be a great mother. Yeah. You're going to be a great wife, but you're going to learn from your mistakes, and you're going to be able to be a testament to tell other people, and I don't regret any of the mistakes that I've made over life because they made me into the person I am today. So just embrace them.
All right. Now, I have one more question, and it's kind of based on, actually how you guys met. So I want to get your thoughts on your significant other having a really good friend of the opposite gender, because we see how it worked out here. You fed a man, which is a classic way to get him to not go away. So what are your thoughts there?
What do you say, Ray?
Okay, having a friend of the opposite gender. Break that down to me, that question.
All right. So Loni has a young man, we'll call him Steve.
Yeah.
Starts coming around, eating the food.
Oh boy, yeah.
Back in college.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, yeah.
Because when you said that, she had a girlfriend, or he had a girlfriend, I had a boyfriend, and I was eating her food. I was like, uh-oh. That was, so just again, so people, someone who might be courting another young man or woman right now, and they have a friend who's feeding them and spending the time. What advice would you give them? what wise counsel would you share with them?
Oh man, that's.
I'm gonna be honest with you. This is from it's hard for, I don't know if it's everybody's cases, but it's hard for sometimes for opposite sex. You can be friends, but somebody's going to have a feeling for the other one, and maybe the other one might not, but you're taking a risk. Yeah. I'm letting you know that you have to be open for that. It could go either the other way or the other way. Like I could have been I could have liked him, and he could have been just like, he was just trying to get my food. He wasn't, and I just was kind of like it could have went that way, but it didn't. So that's another round. It could go either way. So be okay with, one person may start getting more feelings for the other one because you're around that person. Like he was around me. We start to become friends. Somebody's going to start liking somebody. And hopefully both of you start liking each other, and it can go and blossom into something bigger. Yeah. But then it might not be okay if this is going to be platonic. I think that's something, when it starts happening a lot like that, you might need to talk. Like, what are we? What is this? And it's okay to have those discussions to find out, okay, this is this. So I know whether or not, I know where we stand. That's just my take on it. It could go either way.
And the thing is, I never told her I liked her. At that time, I never told her. It was more so she seen my action, but I respected her being with that guy. We didn't, like I said, I get her food up. That's it. Guess she had a meal card. I'm gonna give her some wings and some fries.
He's bad. Oh,
down at the restaurant, the 24-hour restaurant on the campus. And so, I never actually told her I liked her. I didn't tell my wife I really admired her until I started dating her. Like, I've been always, that's when I started letting the feelings out. But we were straight up just like
friends
for real, And of course, like you said, you become friends with somebody.
I thought he was cute. I
thought she was fine anyway, back in the day. But I mean, I was like, I can't do anything. Number one, I didn't want to touch her because I was a little wild back then, and she was just innocent. And then number two, I was like, she got a boyfriend, and I didn't want to do that, So we just friends.
Well, now mind you, the boyfriend didn't care for. He was like,
he didn't like me.
He didn't. Like me. Of course. I mean, would you? I mean, look,
Hey, what's her last name now?
Yeah.
What her last name is, Hey.
He knew something was going on. He was like, oh my goodness. But yeah.
All right. Well, I'll share my view on this. I think generally when a man is staying around after a certain age, if a guy is willing to give up his time, there's probably interest there somewhere. So, if my wife was to introduce me to her friend Steve, because we're all believers here, I would extend that right hand of fellowship, but it would maybe take on a different context. I'll leave it at that.
Right here.
Oh, gosh.
I love it.
Awesome.
Now, for anybody who wants to learn more about you guys, I've put the website here. For anybody who's listening, the website is better2, so TWO, then the number 2, Gether, GETHER.com. And obviously this is all linked below, so make sure to to follow the journey of Dennis and Loni. Dennis and Loni, thank you so much for taking the time to join us. We really enjoyed this conversation.
Same here. Thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. We appreciate you. And for everybody who listened or watched, thank you for letting us disrupt your everyday.
Thanks for listening to the Disrupt the Everyday podcast. For more ways to listen, connect with us on social media. To be a guest or to partner with us, check out our link tree at Disrupt the Everyday. Join us next time for more ways to disrupt the everyday.